Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to move, how to copy and paste an image from one photograph into another. And we haven't talked about this tool today, but this is the quick selection tool. And this is very handy because you can use it in a quick way to define areas of your photograph. So what I'm doing is I'm going across him and I'm very quickly defining how much of him I want to cut out. And in this case, I want to cut out most of him, or all of him. So it took it down to his watch. Let's go around his ear. Sometimes when you do this, you have to go back with smaller radius on the select tool. Like right by his cheek, we're missing a little detail. So shoes might be a little difficult. That's not too bad. Although it looks like we lost the laces. That's pretty good. Let's come over here. So again, I'm using the quick select tool, and on that last run I just went too far. Anyway, a little more over here, and I can always come back with another lasso. That looks pretty good. Okay, and then the last thing is right over here by the edge of his face. Let's get that. Okay, I think that's pretty good. We've got him. Oh, there's one shoelace here. Let's get that. Okay. And that's too much, you can see. So I'm going to come back to minus. I'll just get rid of that one area. Okay, and I think we're good to go. Okay, so now I'm going to copy this. I'm going to come up to edit, and I'm going to go copy. So now this is on my brush, and I'm going to put him jumping into a room. So I've got the destination that I want him to be in. So I'm going to come back up to edit, and I'm going to go paste. And I'm going to ignore this. It's telling me that it doesn't match the color space. But here he is, jumping into this room. Ah, I can see I forgot his hand. So we can undo this, undo paste. And I'm going to go back to this image. And let's go back and add, using the plus, let's add his hand. There we go. Looks like I got a little extra background between his fingers. So let me come over here with the minus. And let's just clean it up right in there and right in there. So I'm not dragging a lot of stuff with me. Looks like the tip of his thumb. There could be a little bit more detail there. All right. So now let's copy this. Go to edit, copy. Let's go to the destination, the photograph we want him to jump into. Paste. That's better. So now I can move him. I can scale him. I can come up here and using the transform, I can rotate him. I can enlarge him. I can scale him up. I can make it look like he's jumping into this room. I think I'm going to rotate him back. And then when I like it, up here, I can just hit check. Now he's in. Now remember what we talked about. We can use masks to clean things up. And he does have a little bit of a white edge around him. So I can do this a couple of ways. I can come up to load selection, and now I can use under select, I can modify this to make it just a little bit tighter. I'm contracting now, so let me contract it by 1, And what I did is the selection has now compressed. It's brought the line in a little bit by 1 pixel, and I'm going to add a mask to this and see if I like that better. So it looks like that white edge is gone. I could come over here and I could paint a little bit close to his arm. I can't tell if that's a highlight, but I'm going to just knock it back just a little bit. It looks like I've done too much. So let me get a smaller brush. And I just want to take this down on this edge just a little bit, so it's a little cleaner. Okay. So now, the other thing that I would like to do is I would like to make a shadow of him on the floor to make this look more realistic. So let me show you a couple ways to do this. First thing we can do is we can come over to, I'm going to double click on that layer and I'm going to say jumping dude. And now I'm going to duplicate jumping dude. And I'm going to just pull down that layer under it, and I'm going to call this jumping dude shadow. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw out that matte. When it asks me, do I want to apply it, I'm going to say yes. And with the jumping dude shadow, I'm going to load it, load the selection, and I'm going to fill it with black. Okay. And I'm going to come up to the filter area, and I'm going to blur it. I'm going to blur it a lot. So the only reason I threw out the matte is that I wanted to just really be able to have complete control over this shadow. So now I'm going to turn on the guy, and you can see that he's got a shadow. However, I might want that shadow to be further away from him, so I can affect the opacity on that, like he's casting a shadow on the wall. I can also, using my transform tool, I can change how that shadow is falling. The other thing that I want to do to this picture is I want to add some type. So on a new layer, I'm going to click new layer down here. I'm going to come over to my type menu. And your type menu is pretty cool, so you should want to investigate that. If you don't see your choices in type, come over to the window and open character. And now the entire Adobe library is going to open to you. So we'll probably talk more about type in the next course unit, but I just wanted to mention that there's a T tool here, and if you click on it, it's going to open Got to do this over again. Okay. So if you click on it, it's going to open Lorem Ipsum, good old friend of mine. Anyway, you have complete control over this. I'm going to just put in a type I like called Fugu, and I'm going to make it really large so you can see what I'm doing. So under type, you have a lot of choices. If you hold down the font, if you hold down this arrow, it shows you all the fonts loaded on your system. So let me just, I don't know, I'll just say jumpin' dude or jumpin' jack, whatever. So now with the type, I have similar controls. One of the things I can do, let's take a look at all the choices in this now. By clicking on the word, it updates the word in your menu over here, but it's highlighted now, so I can just literally run through my type. Actually, it's not previewing for some reason. It'll show me a lot of different choices of what I can use for the text. I can also, by holding down Edit, I can get the transform menu and I can make it larger. I can rotate it. Now let's change the font to be something strong. Okay. So, and I'm working non-destructive, so I can keep that type active until I find a type I like. So I strongly suggest that you play with the fonts. There's lots of fonts. There's the Adobe fonts. There's a font site called Duff Font, which gives you fonts that you can download for free. You can see how many fonts I have. Lots. Okay. Let's get that font. And, you know, again with the font is active. I can duplicate this font. And I can make it 50% of itself and pull it down. I can also put the font under him. Show you what I mean. I'm going to duplicate it one more time. So I want him to be on top of all this. So literally I can just pull him up and now he's on top of the font. Anyway, so I strongly suggest you play with fonts, you play with shadows, and have fun with it.